and I can share the screen. Oh. Computer's a bit slow. Okay, so Kenrick, Steph, myself, and Torsten. Should we forego brief updates, or do you want to do any other?
We can do that.
I can do. Go on, Kenrick. Go on.
Well, in the background, you can see the new logo and theme for Photrek. This was done by the WADA team that did the branding for WADA last year. And so very excited to have their support in helping Photrek have a better sort of thematic theme for its work.
It's cool that Varda's done that, actually.
Yeah.
Steph, any updates?
No, just bumping around from the onboarding for Fund 9 and all those fun updates, and happy to, I guess, kick off marketing and sharing our hard work.
Absolutely, yeah. Are you in the, did you get funded in the DApps one? Does that mean you have to complete milestones?
Yes.
Yeah. Torsten.
I think that's a good step, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm having fun on the other side of the fence, actually, because I'm part of the challenge team for that.
Are
challenge.
you? What, for DApps?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Wow, that's a big one too. Holy
So
cow.
you better start early.
Yeah. I mean, all of that came a bit as a surprise for everyone, but it's like it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
could
it's
say
a
the
positive
same.
step though, because the accountability and auditing of the projects had not really come together. And I think this is a good first step towards that.
Yeah.
It is. It's just coming a little bit as a surprise, probably for everyone.
Yeah.
And yeah, with 78 funded proposals.
Yeah, it's like it came up in
people. That's a lot of work, but it's fine. I mean, we'll for sure will learn. Kind of it. I don't want to derail this meeting, but it comes back to the old chestnut, kind of like, how do you compensate people for the work which they have to put in or asked to be put in?
Right, exactly, right.
And IOG is getting creative on that side, but it's still very close to minimum wage rates or even below. So yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I got
But
funded
otherwise I'm good.
Good. I got funded for a couple of things, but they're mostly co-proposals with what used to be Q Circle Admin is now governance services. So we've actually got funded for a governance services proposal, which should be interesting to see how that plays out with Gimbal Labs as well. And I actually got funded to work with Utah on dReps as well. So, which is good. Yeah. And so that's my update. So we're here for, thanks everyone for coming. We're here for the release of the white paper. So I'll just pass it over to you, Karen. Do you have any thoughts or do you want something to say on this?
Yeah, so really excited to have gotten to this point. And I'm excited to talk with the community more about the results. So I think as you've got in your outline here, the plan is to host a town hall meeting on Wednesday, the swarm session on Saturday, and then later in the meeting, we can talk about other venues too and other groups.
I mean, I think the after town hall, Torsten, you've already arranged that. The swarm session, Torsten, you've already arranged that.
I did.
Yeah. So I'll just tick those off there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And before let's talk about the plan for tomorrow's after town hall. But before we get into that, the issue about a copyright on the paper was brought up just before the meeting, and that's a good thing to, as a last thing to do. So I do think the suggestion to use the Creative Commons copyright is a good idea. We probably should have got, well, we need approval from the other authors before we can really put it on there. So,
Can I action, do you want to run with that, Kenrick?
yeah, I'll get an email out to the group.
Okay.
Is that sound all right for you, Steph, on your end? And, or you may have some, do you have to bring up any issues with Wolfram on the copyright for this document? Like right now, we do it, right now, to be honest, it is in the public domain and it doesn't have a copyright, but I think it's
has a
kind of
copyright to
assumed, the
say
way
it, that's what-
copyrights are written, they're kind of assumed anyway, but it's
Yeah.
better to have it clear.
It's kind of marketing a bit as well because because of Cardano's open source strategy and stuff like that. So if you want to
Right.
align it with that, so we can say in the spirit of that, I would advise people to look at the Creative Commons website first to be, so people are satisfied, because there's different options. I would suggest an attribution option, but though of course, as you say, Ken, that people may need to check with their companies as well.
Well, if it's in regards to the writing, how, like, I'm not very up to date on it, but in terms of what's been written and the ideas shared there, there's no problem. Does it extend beyond that to like the creating the math of the, not creating the math, but defining the bands off index in our own technology?
No, because we didn't share the code, for instance, isn't in the document.
Are you
so-
sure? Okay. I think the way I think it works, Steph, is that any text in the document will be under the license. So I would assume that maths is included as text. Okay, so but if you're referring to tools that Wolfram use, for example, that's not in the document, that won't be covered by the license. Also, you can actually say in the document, this is not covered by the license. So if there's anything you're not sure about, like a little tool or even a piece of math, you can say this is not covered by the license.
Just who I am personally, I'm okay with what we've been doing, and nothing's been raised internally, but I haven't really been like, hey, legal team, what needs to be covered here? And I don't think that's a great direction, because I think this is in the spirit of the community. So I'll check and I'll look through that license. But I'm not, and please help me here if you think something specific is like, that's
No.
definitely something that you shouldn't give creative license to, but I don't think there's anything in the paper from our section that does that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Now I would defer to you and Kenrick and Torsten on the math, because I'm not really sure I'm not sure if there's anything proprietary in there.
I think what I would say is all of this was done in a very public way. It's always actually been open on the web for viewing. We're just announcing it now. And so there's nothing, I don't think anything that's been done by anyone on the team is proprietary. And of course, each organization would have to make that declaration for themselves, but we're kind of reviewing literature and we're doing analysis, but nothing so far has and even like Steph said, he might have a more proprietary license with regard to any Wolfram software he developed to do the analysis. But even that, as I understand it, was the starting point was in the public domain and was actually written by a non-Wolfram employee. So even that is not very proprietary.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't alarm people too much because
Yeah,
it's really
right.
marketing. Steph, I'm just going to paste you the link to the video we are linking to in the tweet. If you want to.
One thing I would ask Stephen is,
yeah.
you're mentioning that there are different licenses. Can you kind of quickly decide on that right after the meeting and let me know which one to use?
Yeah, I can't.
I'll send out the communication. I do have other things that I'm kind of pressed on. So if you don't mind doing that, or if you think it can be done quickly, we can even just do
Yeah.
it together right now.
Yeah, I could. I mean, to save time, I'll do it. I need to have a quick look through, but it's probably going to be an attribution license. I'll do it by email. So I'm just using. So I'll
You have it up. Okay, all right, fine, yeah.
I'll drop
Just
the link
right
in- I'll
after
drop-
the meeting.
I'll drop the link in the agenda there.
Yeah, we don't want to delay too long.
Yeah, so
because-
it's basically just on a consensus basis. If there's anything people want me to stop doing that, and then it's just then I'm not sure if I have edit access to the document. I think it's locked now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you would have to add it.
Yeah,
Cameron.
I'll do the update on the footnote.
And then you might want to say something like in the spirit of open source and Cardano or something like that. You know,
Yeah.
because
All right,
it's
very good.
okay.
So talking about the meeting tomorrow.
Yeah.
Ordinarily, as part of the preparation, I probably would have encouraged the team to put slides together. However, I'm really pressed this month, which is why I didn't do it. So we will the plan is to just walk through the paper. However, if someone on the team wants to put slides together for their part, they're certainly welcome to do that. And as I said, it's tomorrow and I won't have time between now and then to review it with you, but you're welcome to do that. Steph, for instance, now I hope to get confirmation of who is going to be there. So maybe that'll be part of my email too. Steph, are you going to be able to participate in the after town hall?
Yes, that's
Okay,
the
that's
one
right.
tomorrow, correct?
Right. And what about the one on Saturday with the swarm session?
I'm not, I'm not aware of that one, actually.
That one, they run from 1 to 3. And depending on how many people they have, will either present to the whole group, which is likely, or they'll have a breakout room for us.
Sorry, is that the like the
Swarm.
what is that? Sorry.
Swarm is,
I know Swarm. Is it one of their Swarm fests?
No, it's their Saturday. They have a Saturday meeting normally every Saturday at 1700 UTC.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. 1700.
let's double
UTC.
check, is it 7?
Let's double check this 1700, but I think it's 1700.
And when is, okay, so,
It's 1.
yeah, let
1
me check.
Eastern Saturday.
Can I just check who wants to be tagged in the tweet? Steph, I have your, I think I follow you on Twitter, and I think I'm not sure if I follow Wolfram as well. If you want to just paste Wolfram's Twitter address, or anyone you want, anyone you want tagged in the tweet, basically.
Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Kenrick, I'll tag you.
Yeah, I'll type mine in there.
Yeah, I think I've got yours. I don't. Do you have a Twitter, Torsten, or something?
Yeah,
you
it's
want?
the same.
Same. Okay. Can you drop it in there just to help? Yeah, I can tag up to 10 people, and then you could just retweet.
So to confirm, the swarm meeting is 1700 UTC or 1 PM Eastern
Eastern.
Daylight Time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's also a good session. You know, they usually have between 5 to 15 people in attendance.
I would like to be there. I do have plans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I might be able to join from my phone. So I just wouldn't be able to like,
Right.
it'd just be a little more limited.
Okay. Yeah, if you can, then that's great. If not, that's understandable. As So as far as other sessions go, what I've been recommending is that in these meetings, we let people know that we are open to participating in other sessions by invitation, but they should pick a particular section and invite that lead author, kind of with a CC to the other authors and the editors. Because if we try to have an open invitations for the whole thing, it gets a little bit unwieldy with regard to meeting everyone's interests.
Yeah, I mean, obviously
And
we
in
can't.
particular, for instance, we kind of have an informal invitation right now for the African town hall. I would like to do that, but for myself, I would rather do it next month because my schedule this month is already very full. But if someone else has a particular interest in speaking with the African town hall, I would encourage you to reach out. That's the other thing, is you can reach out yourself to set up discussions. For instance, there's a lot of Twitter spaces now have become very popular. I have not spoken with any of those yet, but that's another good place to discuss this.
Oh, I think
Sorry,
I had a
Steph had his hand up. So
Yeah, I was, could we, what is the main points that maybe like, if I was asked about what we did in this working group and wanted to talk beyond my own section, what do you think like a consistent message would be from top level, maybe one sentence about each section? Like, do we have that? Because I can make up, I have my own opinion. I was just curious if like we want to be consistent about like, if asked, what should we share about somebody else's part? Do you think that
Yeah.
matters?
That's good. And actually a good, take a look at the video that Steve put together, because he gave a one sentence introduction to each section.
Oh, okay,
So that might be a good starting point.
great
Yes.
job.
I actually lifted that from the white paper.
Oh, okay.
but also there is a point there, Steph, in terms of we might need to think about in terms of how we work together. Like we were a community. This is a community project or a community group that came together to work on a white paper. That's a story in itself. Okay, and we from different parts of the community, and then we had that community review, Camric. That's something that would be nice to talk about. That's an achievement. These are all achievements, And then, as you say, Steph, I didn't really occur to me before, Torsten. Sorry, not Camric, but there is the issue of consistency when talking about different white paper sections. Like, obviously the authors of those sections are obviously going to have a more authoritative, view of that section. So perhaps we should defer. I don't know what people think. Is that what you're getting at, Steph, a little bit?
Yeah, and I think your video is probably going to be the thing. I just don't want to be honest, I haven't in detail read through all sections again since it's been finished. I'm going to before entering the town hall tomorrow, but I imagine like if we find ourselves in many different areas speaking about these things, just as a like core group, how would we like to refer to ourselves, or how would we like to refer to like the most important takeaways and like what's next?
Okay, if you share,
I may be making a bigger deal of it than need be.
No,
I
I think it's a
think-
great idea as well. But if you could share some, sorry, Torsten, if you could share something maybe by email as well.
Yeah.
By Torsten, go on, over to you.
But one thing I was gonna say is, you're only responsible for your own section. And so, and this was actually a particular request from Philip.
Right.
You know, he's representing his section. He's not representing the whole paper.
Right.
And so you can think of it a little bit like a book chapter or a paper in a journal. You know, if you submit a paper to a journal, you're not responsible for the other 10 papers that were published in that same journal section, right? You want them to be professional because you're kind of next to it. You're trusting the reputation of the journal. So in a sense, you are kind of trusting the editorial process that the other sections also are high quality and represent important things about dReps. And it's great if you read those sections and have ability to speak to them, but
Yeah,
you're
understood.
not responsible for them.
Torsten, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it is actually the responsibility also of the reader to read themselves and take their own conclusions out of that. Yeah, I mean, we have to be a bit careful that we don't become kind of like getting a white paper out and, oh, can I please have it pre-chewed in a McDonald's way so that I don't have to do too much about it myself.
Well, yeah,
It's the modern way.
that's what's going to happen tomorrow. So now
Yeah,
you've got a good lead in, Thurston, as to how are we going to
so-
actually run the meeting tomorrow.
So,
And my first question is, Thurston, I appreciate you getting the meeting set up.
yeah.
Are you prepared to run tomorrow's meeting?
Yeah, I kind of did that the last time. I mean,
Okay.
it's not so much of an issue. I think what the community in itself has to understand is that with the introduction of dReps, there are some implications and changes, and what we are trying to do is help them to understand different aspects which kind of should be considered in conjunction with the implementation of dReps. So every section in itself has their own individual focus, and I assume, Steph, that the one which kind of will get most of the interest is probably yours. That's my assumption at this moment in time, because it gives a concrete example, and it becomes then very, very clear that, hold on for a minute, we didn't think about it. Is that actually causing an issue? And that would start discussions. Yeah.
That's a
Which is
good
fine.
point, Thurston. And it occurs to me that Aaron let me know yesterday that actually the next 2 weeks are a holiday period in Israel. So he may not be able to attend. I'm hoping Philip will be able to attend, but
Yeah,
let's get
but I mean-
confirmation on that.
I mean, first of all, kind of, we should stipulate the community to read themselves and start thinking themselves. That's kind of what this white paper should be. Yeah, kind of like, otherwise it's just not
I mean,
fulfilling the purpose in itself. But
Yeah, but tomorrow's
I'm
meeting, we can't assume that, especially where our public notification is just going out today. So we do need to take
Oh, you can
time tomorrow to introduce what we accomplished.
Yes, but people can still read. I mean, you can read normally faster than you can kind of talk, and we will talk about stuff. So I'm quite confident about it. Just to summarize it on a high level, when we get through the different sections, and then people more or less, we can share the link immediately, and people can read, and then obviously there is insights which then the different authors might have to kind of discuss, but at the end of the day, the discussion will start because people will start thinking about what they're reading. Yeah.
Yeah, so if I can go ahead, Stephen, you wanted
Yeah,
to
I
say
was just going to say it'd be good if we could hold a meeting, and I know there's people's convenience. in November to do a kind of review of what we've done, partly for the close of the proposal, probably going to the proposal. I know we're out of funding now, but that would cover something like, Steph, like our experience of what we've gone through, you know, in terms of the things outside the content of the white paper, like how we work together, how we reviewed it with the community, and report that as a kind of end of proposal report kind of thing. So sometime in maybe in mid-November, if I'll.
You mean as a team meeting? Is that what you're referring to?
I was going to suggest as our team, yeah.
Maybe we could do that as part of both a kind of closeout of this project, but also planning for, say, a Fund 10 proposal if we want to do something similar.
Yeah, okay, so
Well,
let's
probably
close
late
out.
then, I think.
I'm thinking of Fund 10 of how do we take the beginning of at least my sections our sections analysis with the bands off power index and going the next step into like, let's make it a bit more specific.
Can we,
Yeah,
sorry to interrupt, for the moment, can we just hold those into two things?
Yes.
They may become one, I accept that, but we need to capture this now. So we need to have a closeout of Fund 8, if you like. So, which is the lessons learned, if you like, so I can't spell at the moment because everyone's looking. Lessons learned, etc. And then this important subject of Fund 10 proposals, yeah? So we discuss this now?
Yeah, but I just want to make sure on the, just to clarify with Thurston. So, you know, the basic structure of the meeting for the after town hall and swarm will be that Thurston's going to run the meeting, and then he's going to introduce lead authors who are there. That will give like a 5-minute overview, and it should be, their overview should be kept to 5 minutes. So it's, you know, and then the focus, and you'll manage the discussion. If a lead author isn't there, it's good to have a backup, know who the backup is. So one question I have is, do you, Stephen, do you think you can speak to Philip's paper if he's not there?
Try. I will attend, and I'll have a quick read. But I probably can improvise. Yeah.
Likewise with Aaron's, where I'm a co-author, I can be the backup for that section. And then I'll take, you know, with the introduction, I will take a few minutes to just introduce the whole process too, after Thurston has kind of introduced the meeting in the group.
So a few minutes, like 5 minutes per section, so is what you're thinking for the introduction.
Well, let's think about this carefully, because if it's 5 times 5, if I include Thurston's, you know, that's 25 minutes already.
A couple of minutes then, a couple of minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
At most. So okay, that puts into context. That's
Say
quite
3
easy.
to 5. Let's call it 3 to 5 minutes. If you
Yeah.
can do it in shorter, it probably helps. Yeah.
I'll put 3 minutes. It just focuses the mind.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. So it'd be good if I mean, this could be the same meeting, okay, but a close out of the Fund 8 stuff that what we're doing here. And as you just referred to, Steph, and I think we need to talk about this, is where do we go from here? I mean, I'm into being part of a Fund 10 proposal, in principle. But if you have something, we obviously is now coming up quite soon, isn't it?
Well, in particular for Fund 10, one of the things I would be interested in, Steph, is your section really has some meat to it now, because you've got original data. So whereas in this section, I was really insistent that we not be over ambitious about where we could possibly publish this. I think we could propose for your work trying to get it into a scientific journal. Now, the only hesitation I have still is that in my experience, a good scientific paper ends up being a multi-year process. You know, it's kind of a year to formulate something original. It's another year to gather and actually do experiments that are original. And it's another year to write the paper. And it can even be a fourth year to actually have it finalized and published, you know, approved. So there still has to be some, you know, being careful about scope, but you know, if you're interested, I'm quite interested in trying to work your results towards a scientific paper.
I'm interested in delivering value to the community and like how we can get to deeper like results immediately. And then as that plays out with like an end goal of making it more of like an official publication, like I'm interested in that. I would defer to you a lot more in terms of making it a publication, but as far as like what's the next step of making it more useful for the community and as like a valuable metric, that's kind of where my head's at. And
that makes a lot of sense. And
it,
I think that's much more likely to get support from the community. So let's do, let me shift my own focus and let's focus on that. Because, you know, making these tools available to the community in a way that they can do their own analysis of different power situations in voting and governance would be really valuable.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, I could see the following. A lot of teams now are building voting systems, right? But no one's trying to build a system that analyzes the power relationships in those systems. And if you know, your team has the ability to kind of do that, that's a great service to the community.
Can I just, I mean, there's potential there for, there's also a community review aspect because that was one of the most successful parts of this project was the community review. So there could be a proposal that extends, as you say, Steph, it keeps alive your data, and maybe as the dReps are being introduced, we reference the dRep implementation with that data in a kind of community, in some kind of community interaction. Okay, I know we can't predict all this, but some kind of community interaction involvement, as you say, delivering value and deeper results. Some sort of, you know, so which we can scope out once we're funded, and that we would be funded in what February, March next year, and we could also make reference to publication, Cameron. We could just say we can start that process. We don't have to commit to saying we're going to achieve the process. And then we can also, you know, refer to making tools available. The tooling aspect, though, does raise the issue of the cost of the proposal, because I think the dRep challenge is only 100,000 or so. I'm not sure. So it might have to go in the open source challenge or the products and integrations challenge.
Right. I could see the products and integration at this point with Steph's work.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm open. You know, still learning a lot, and you know, I think a lot of the direction here did come from all of your inputs. So like, I very much see this as like a team effort, and you know, I wouldn't have gotten there myself, even without you putting it in front of me. So, whatever we think works, and you know, maybe the outcome is that it sits on in Lido Nation as a metric that they use. You know, I'm open to all of it. I just kind of want to go further.
Yeah, I can help with draft. I'm reasonably good at drafting proposals. I've got quite a good track record in getting funded. I know we all are, but we could, that would imply having meetings to draft a proposal, but we could just scope it out. Probably something like the products integration challenge, maybe the open source challenge, who knows? Okay, and then we've already got some material here. We can refer also back to why should people vote for us? Why should people fund us? because we've already achieved this in 2 proposals, actually, and we've delivered on our unique approach. I can say all that, Steph, you know, so and that's the team effort, you know. So, and that's all very positive, I think. And, but we are talking about, what, I don't know, over 50,000, I'm not sure. I know Torsten.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit off the topic of dReps, but it's very much in the center of the power index. My understanding is that the next circle vote is going to go down with a tool from drip drops,
Yeah.
and there will be on-chain data for that.
Yeah.
Well, why do you say it's slightly off the dRep topic?
Because there will not be a dRep representation. It will but just be effectively a 1/8 or 1 vote scenario. But the advantage which that brings in itself is actually, my understanding is that the data will be on chain.
Yeah. And
So
it's
you
catalyst
will
it's catalyst circle reps you're referring to.
catalyst circle reps.
Yeah.
So there will not be delegated representatives, to my understanding, but it clearly kind of might be a stepstone, or also in the dRep discussion, because we will kind of have some real life data and an outcome, which, different to what we got so far, is actually transparent, as my understanding is. So you could really kind of, in this context,
Yeah.
analyze based on the data the
We could be quite clever about the
assumption.
scope. We could be quite clever about the scope of the proposal, Torsten.
Yeah.
So we could say something like, this isn't just like, we don't put dReps in the title. We just say,
Yeah.
this is something we do which could apply to dReps. It could apply to other voting scenarios as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, that is a real life scenario then, which hopefully is data rich enough to do an analysis on it and see effectively how power shifts actually happen. Because
Yeah.
what they
That's
also,
good.
of course, my understanding is they also open up the roles now within the circle. So it could well be that we in the future have a number of these group represented and some others falling a bit away, and that in itself is probably good also to kind of use that as a stepstone with the bands of power index, then to connect it to dReps. And I hope dReps in itself data will become available on chain in the future too.
Is everyone happy with that? That we could be flexible to include analysis of non-dRep governance?
Yeah, that's important actually, because the dRep, analyzing these is extremely difficult. And the analysis that we've done just on the regular voting is still very limited. And part of the limitation is the data. So this is a great idea. It's very important. And I think even a proposal maybe focused on that we can figure out how to, what the right focus for the proposal is. But a proposal just on that might have some merit.
Okay.
And the only thing I would say is the transparency to me is kind of a double edge, in the sense that it helps us, we can do the analysis, but it makes the voting actually much less secure, because of course there's, we'll see what happens, but there's the whole point of having a secret ballot is to not be coerced into how you vote.
By the time we get funded, that'll be historic data. So if
it will be historic data anyhow. I mean, there is this other element of, and it's still not really clear how effectively the representation with dReps is going to be. So there is for sure this element of if I want to cast some votes of people delegating their votes to me, I have to kind of true up and say, this is what I'm intending to do.
I was
Specifically,
intending
or
to submit a dRep oversight proposal, probably on a
Yeah.
lowish budget, a low budget, like between
Yeah.
10 and 20.
I would be interested in that, Stephen, because
Yeah,
I think there is, and that was a discussion with Steve, which we had the last time. There is this element in there of coalition and the power which that generates, and I think it is already in the paper that you more or less kind of created 10 cohorts and did an analysis on that one. So the question which comes out of that one is actually, is there just considering the dReps, if we see some coalition building in that context, is that effectively having a significant impact?
I'm not
on
saying I
the
don't want to
outcome of the-
duplicate work there. So if anyone here is aware of anyone else is doing this, please can we collaborate on this? But because the dRep challenge is only 100,000, so I'm only
Yeah.
talking about. I don't want to take more than 20% of that. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. That's
So
fine.
it would just be, all it would be, because that's not much money. So it would just be like basically documentation and oversight of, who the dReps are, how it went, all that kind of stuff. That's all it would be.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's see more or less kind of, perhaps that's a good groundwork then kind of for some other stuff.
But what we're talking about for is a much more meaty proposal, which obviously we need to have meetings to scope it out. But it sounds like we have the basic structure for something, which is building on Steph's data, building on our tool building, using the methods that we've used in community feedback and research, and submitting that in the products and integrations challenge.
Right. That sounds good.
Okay.
Just two things, because we are running now down the agenda, and I have two which I still have to chip in.
All
Number one, I'm not available in the week 43, so kind of for this follow-up. Is it 43? Sorry, 46. So for the follow-up meeting in
All right.
November.
Okay. Yeah.
I will not be available in the week from the 14th to the 18th, because most likely, because I have.
I'll probably coincide that. It may even be the same meeting as the CGO fund day closeout. What do you think, Cameron?
Yeah.
Because we
I'd kind of prefer that. If you
Yeah.
don't mind.
then we can kill two birds with one stone.
That's
So-
fine. I'm just mentioning that because I'm work-wise quite bound in that. And the
You
second
say
one,
after, you say late November.
that's the week starting commencing the 14th of November.
14th of November, you do it available, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So during the day and evening, it's not so much a problem.
That's quite soon anyway. I don't think CGO is going to close out until late November, December anyway.
Yeah.
That's right.
I don't.
So-
The only reason why I'm saying that is kind of that one is kind of in the afternoon. Yeah, and I will not be able to do that in the afternoon. And the second one is I reached out to Reese from Stoikpool, and he
Right.
agreed also to have him on one of his YouTube shows. So we
Right.
just have to agree when the best moment in time for that one would be. And I told him we're going to come back to you. Considering that Kenrick is actually quite busy in October, we might be even able to do that in November.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's a Reese YouTube show. And that would be
YouTube
YouTube
channel.
channel.
Yeah, and it would be kind of, we can decide how we want to do that. So I opened the chat. He agreed. He agreed to that one. That
Mid to late
Just have to-
November. Mid to late November.
yeah, we have to nail it down in a nutshell. But in principle, he agreed. Yeah, I said yeah, no problem.
Okay.
So
Yeah. And I think we're obviously happy with the white paper.
Yeah.
Are we happy to release the white paper?
Yes, definitely.
And I'll do the tweet, as I say. We can do it directly after the meeting, and then just reconvene. Do you want these front end proposals? Do we want to set a meeting now?
Yeah, let's do that, because otherwise
Yeah.
So when
um,
when does the Fund 10 open? Because kind of
November, it's the first week of November, I think,
10th, you can submit proposals.
10th. Okay, insight sharing will be the first week. Okay.
I mean, that's a long time to go.
It'll go quick.
It always sneaks up on you, you know?
exactly. Once you're
Yeah.
there, you don't have much time.
It
So
does,
it is good
it
to
does,
start.
but
them.
I was expecting it actually still happening in October.
I'm already thinking about drafting proposals now because
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no doubt about that.
yeah. Because it's a lot of work, and particularly a proposal like this is going to be quite. It's not going to be. It's medium complexity, isn't it? So we shall say. Well, do you want to meet before the proposal submission opens, or after? We could meet. We could
Before.
meet
So
before.
if looking at my calendar, I don't want to meet on the 25th because I have at least I don't want to schedule it now because I have a deadline on the 26th. If I've already kind of met that deadline and submitted early, then the 25th could work well, but I can't commit to that now.
What about the 1st of November?
The 1st of
Yeah.
November works very well.
It's
And that would-
Tuesday as well.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And
with me.
if you're saying that's still before the process even starts, that's maybe ideal.
It's about a week before it starts. Is that right, Steph? Do you think?
Yeah, so let's do that. And then
Can we
in
do
the
the same
meantime,
time?
we can, what I would say is, like particularly, staff, if you want to meet sometime between now and then, set up a meeting, send out invitations, and then, I can kind of let you know what my availability is on a particular day.
What I'll do, I'll schedule that day, and if you come up with any ideas, and can you put it in a Google document and share it with people?
Yes.
If not, I'll do it. So I'll and share a Google Doc, which will have that will be the proposal essentially.
Yeah, that's good. In other words, we can work offline between now and then.
Yeah.
And part of what I'm saying is if anyone feels they need a meeting, then just set it up and invite people, and those that can attend can.
I'll set it up so it's convenient for America, or I'll set it for the same. I don't think the daylight's 1800 UTC. Does that work for you?
Yeah, that's probably the week of daylight savings here in the United States, but yeah, the same time should work.
Yeah, I know maybe some daylight savings snafus, but
Yeah,
we'll sort that out with email, or I'll schedule it now actually, or in the next week, and we can see how that affects, if it's affected by daylight savings or not.
very good.
Okay, and I think that's it, isn't it? Really. So I forgot the time. Sorry. I probably stop share and stop recording if everyone's okay.